Okay, first and foremost, I want to start this video off by saying I don't know shit about autism, okay? Not an expert, but I'm going to share with you my experience, a life-changing experience that I've had with an autistic friend. This video is for my friend Heather Rodriguez, and I want to give a shout out to Barb and Q for this great experience I had. Now, let's start off by saying there's two things that's important. I judge people by two things: if you're smart and if you're funny, okay? If you're smart and if you're funny, you don't have to be both, but if you're one of those, I got mad love for you, right? I'm not saying I dislike dumb, dry people, but they're just not cool, you know? So within that is a third part. If you're smart, funny, and you get my humor, then we're best fucking friends. It's difficult for people to get my brand of humor because I have a raw, gritty, offensive, high concept, often dark sense of humor. Okay, and not everybody gets it. And I'm not talking about no regular jokes. Either you gonna laugh or sometimes motherfuckers be mad. That shit ain't funny. But, so I got a friend named Q, right? And I was hanging out with Q and Barb, his mom. Q is autistic. And as you can tell from the video, he will always need assistance physically navigating this realm. But when I tell you, this man is one of the sharpest minds I've ever met, let me explain. So I'm hanging out with them, right? And when anybody who knows Q knows that when you're not directly interacting with him, right? Usually he sits in the living room and he watches the Bob Marley documentary. He loves that. So I'm sitting in the kitchen and he's sitting in the living room. We're not even in the same room, but me and Barb are sitting there talking, and if you know me, you know I slide little jokes in throughout every conversation I have. And some of the jokes Barb gets and some of them she don't get, but Q gets every joke. He's over there cracking up. So even though I have very limited experience with differently abled people, that let me know that no matter what his body is suffering, his mind is super sharp, okay? So another time I was there hanging out, we were doing a project together, and I think Barb was cleaning or in the shower or something, I'm not sure, but she wasn't in the room, right? And I was sitting there going over all of my camera equipment, and I'm not saying anything out loud, okay? Looking at my equipment, is the phone charged? This is what's happening in my mind, silently. Is this camera charged? Is my tripod in the bag? Do I need to bring the drone? Are we going to a place where I should get drone footage? I'm not sure. Now, as I'm asking myself these questions in my head, I'm realizing that Q is in the next room verbally responding to the things that I am saying in my head. He's like, yep, It was such a monumental experience when Barb came back in the room. I was like, wait, listen to her. She had to say something like, whoa, I got something to ask you. Do you ever get the feeling that Q is reading your mind? She's like, oh my God. She's like, I don't know anybody else she's like, I didn't think anybody else would believe me if I told him. She's like, but trust me, Q is very intuitive, right? And I took this experience as a life experience and really didn't put too much thought into it after I left. Lo and behold, I come across this video made by a YouTuber that I've been following for years, called the Telepathy Tapes. And it's a study about autistic children and how they communicate. Check this out.
The parents of these children have been saying for years that these children literally know what they're thinking, but nobody's listening to the parents. They're just saying, oh, that's anecdotal evidence, doesn't mean anything, right? So it wasn't until somebody decided, okay, these children can't speak, but if we draw the letters of the alphabet on a board and get the children to point to the letters, perhaps they can communicate that way. And they could. Okay.
Wow.
They found that these non-verbal autistic children could spell out words and then communicate that way. Yeah. And as soon as they could communicate, but the people found out that these children could speak multiple languages. Right? They knew advanced physics, art, music, all this stuff that they weren't taught. They already knew.
Advanced physics, wow.
Of everything. You've seen autistic savants who will walk up to a piano and just know how to play. Or you tell them, okay, what day was the 5th of January, 1654? And they'll say, oh, it's a Tuesday, right?
It was a Tuesday.
Because they have access to everything, like we have access to everything. Okay. Yeah. The only problem is their left brain, which our left brain literally links us to this dimension, right? Links us to the here and now. Okay. So their left brain doesn't work quite so well, or doesn't work the way ours does. So they're disconnected from this dimension, as it were. Most of these children don't know they have bodies.
Wow.
Right? That's why they're hitting things so that they know they've got a body.
Wow.
Right? And this is what one of them said. This is why I'm hitting, so I know that I've got a body here. Yeah. And so we've been implanted with a completely wrong view of this world, a wrong view of reality. Okay. And so we're living in this totally disabled state, and we've been shown the way by these non-verbal autistic children.
Wow.
And we've treated horribly because everyone believes that they're vegetables and there's nothing going on. And these children, right, they meet on this other dimensional plane, maybe I call it fourth dimension, maybe, right? In this plane, they meet on a place they call the hill. So all these non-verbal children, right, from all over the world come together in this place they've created called the hill, and they speak to each other.
Wow.
And it's been proved that's what's happening, because obviously these children from different parts of the world never met each other. They bring them together, and they know everything about the other person because they've been speaking to them for ages. Right? What's really interesting about these children? Now there's a scientist called Jacobo Grinberg. He's a Mexican scientist. He was a Mexican scientist who was, researching consciousness and all that. And he realized that when somebody's brain hemispheres become synchronized, now they've got access, conscious access to, telepathy, to all these so-called supernatural abilities. Okay. But our brains are totally out of sync. Okay, these autistic children have brains that are in sync.
Wow.
Okay. Now, what this scientist worked out was that when a neurotypical, right, one of us, spends time with somebody whose hemispheres are totally synchronized, they will bring you up to their level. Okay, and their sort of synchronization suffers a little bit, but they bring you up just by being in their presence. They bring you up to their level, right? And it turned out to be true, because in the telepathy tapes, one of the researchers that spent a long time working with these autistic children finally made it to the hill. They got to the hill, and they were allowed to be there and
wow.
Right? So I believe they're the future of humanity. Okay, they're going to actually be the catalyst to bring us into the fourth dimension, I believe, perhaps. Yeah.